Okay, welcome back, guys. This is a new video I'm going to do. Occasionally I want to do one of these, especially on some of my favorite games of all time, because I can talk about them in length more than I can a lot of other games. But today I want to talk about one of my favorite games of all time, if not my favorite, Grandia. I adore this game, and I've adored it ever since I played it on PlayStation. Back when I was a kid, I love the story of this game. I love the gameplay. I think it has one of the best JRPG battle systems of all time, if not the best. Very in-depth, very good game. A lot of people, I feel like, haven't played it, and this always kind of has been on like the lower, like, just it always is under the radar of all the games, especially considering the other games that came out at the same time or near the same time as this game. I can see why it kind of got buried. So we're gonna bring some awareness to it. So strap in, get ready, and here we go. Grandia was released in December of 1997 for the Sega Saturn. This version here in Japan only. This version of the game has a lot of differences with the PlayStation version that eventually came out, in that some textures were misplaced. Some of the skybox textures are non-existent or look different. A notable one is the starting area of the game. The floor texture kind of had like a cobblestone road thing to it, but for some reason, I think when it was replaced on the PlayStation version, it's rotated the wrong direction, so the roads don't actually line up with where the houses are. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of small anomalies in between versions. It was then released in June 1999 on the PlayStation 1 in Japan, and we never received it in North America until October 26th, 1999. So almost like 2.5 years later, we got it in North America. I guess because they had to do the translation and all the voice acting and stuff. And I played it not long after it came out, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. One of my favorite games of all time. I've said it before, and I'll continually say this until I die. It is literally one of my favorite games. I think it's near perfect. So this game, I feel like, got buried at release. At least in North America, I feel like a lot of JRPGs that came out around the same time kind of, there was just so many good games that it just kind of got buried. Games like Final Fantasy VII, Suikoden 2, Vandal Hearts, a Breath of Fire game, I think the fourth one, Parasite Eve. God, so many games. The list goes on that came out around the same time as this. Very near the same time. And obviously Final Fantasy VII being the big one. That game was huge when it came out and is still huge today. Rightfully so. Much of the staff for this game were former staff that worked on the Lunar series, which makes a lot of sense because I love the Lunar games, and those are also phenomenal JRPGs. So it makes a lot of sense that they're working here. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is graphics. Graphics-wise, this game looks great. It holds up fantastically, especially compared to some of its contemporaries where 3D was utilized in a way that maybe doesn't hold up as great nowadays. But instead of using polygons for literally everything in the game, what they have done here is kind of the opposite of a lot of other games, actually, in that they made the background and like the world itself in 3D polygons in almost a isometric style that you can spin the camera around in, and all the characters are sprites. The sprites are fantastic artwork. They're all kind of like a chibi anime style, and they blend in very well with the polygons, surprisingly. It's got kind of a similar thing going on to, like, I'd say like a Final Fantasy Tactics. And then you have these full motion video cutscenes that they have in certain locations. Not a lot of them, but there are a few at the beginning and at the end, and very specific parts of the story that are done in a hand-drawn anime style. And it's really nice when they come up. It's almost like a reward for getting so far into the game. Graphically, I'd say this is one of the best looking games from this era, especially in JRPGs. it's amazing. And if you play on the remastered version, I recommend not having like the blur filters or anything like that on, because I think that it takes away from a lot of the artwork and the way the pixel art looks. I would recommend obviously playing the original versions of these games, because I just prefer playing them on a CRT TV. I think that it looks the best in that form. But yeah, graphically, great looking game, and we'll move on to something else. The music in this game is fantastic. It is an amazing soundtrack that has, its highs, its lows in terms of like sad, happy. It's great. It can make you feel extremely motivated. A lot of the battle music, a lot of the boss music is phenomenal. I would recommend even listening to the soundtrack outside of the game. It's just such a good soundtrack. The music was composed by Noriyuki Iwadare. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. I'm really bad at this stuff. But yeah, like, a great composer. Has written many compositions for other games into the future and before this. You can look up his entire discography. It's actually quite phenomenal. Grandia has an amazing story. If you want something that's heartwarming, it deals with friendship, love, all the, usual tropes that you'd find in a JRPG. But it does it in a very endearing way. I feel like all the characters in this game you get attached to some degree, at least I did, and I'm sure many other fans of this game have. And there are moments in this game that are near like a tearjerker, and there are other moments that are really funny. It has a great sense of humor about itself. There's enough seriousness to the story that it feels important, and there is a need and a rush to, get to the end and beat the bad guy, as per usual. But never along the way I feel like I was wasting time anywhere. I felt like there was always some kind of need to do what we were doing. I think there are side quests, and you can do that, and that's the thing. I generally don't go into that because this game is not overly difficult, and it can be a little bit of a waste of time. But the content is there if you want to play it. I think the main point of this story is adventure, which I think is what sets it apart from other games. It sounds really cliche because, like, oh, adventure, but no. From a childhood perspective of adventure is how I would categorize the story. It's really great because you start off the game, just playing essentially, and eventually you end up involved in this huge, obvious world-ending event. And it's just so well done, and the characters, the way they deal with it feels so natural and real, and I really enjoy the story. It really gets to that inner child in a lot of us, and I feel like that's why this game has resonated with such a huge fan base over the years, and has become more of a classic nowadays than maybe it was at release. Much of the cast of characters in this game are great. The main character you play as, Justin, is an amazingly endearing character that is very relatable, from a childhood point of view, a childhood wonder. He wants to be an adventurer. He wants to go on adventures. He doesn't want to live in this small town and just, be bored. So I don't want to get too in-depth into the story and give anything away, because I would like people to go and play this game, because it is a great game and there's so many different ways to play it at this point in time. So I'd highly recommend it. Okay, I do want to talk about the combat system in this game, as it is one of the best of its time. It is a great combat system. I honestly think it might be the best, if not one of the best in all of JRPGs in general. It's got an IP bar, so essentially every attack that's on the field, including your attacks and the enemy's attacks and all your teammates' attacks, are on this bar, and you can watch their little icon move up the bar until it gets to the point where they actually unleash an attack. So like every attack has kind of like a charge and a time behind it. The thing is that you can use that info during the battle to influence where attacks land to a certain degree, because like you can use critical attacks against enemies and it will cancel out their attacks, but also they can use that against you as well. So you can have your attacks canceled with stuff like that. They can have their attacks canceled with stuff like that, and you can just obliterate them. And obviously there's different magic that you get in this game, and special attacks that do crazy amounts of damage. Some of it is area of effect damage for you and enemies and bosses. You can move your characters within certain distances of stuff on the field when you're in this battle mode as well, even though it's turn-based, and you can stay out of range of very specific attacks, which doesn't come in handy, I find, too much during regular battle, but with boss fights is kind of essential, especially in a few of them. And yeah, it's just such a great battle system. There's so many different intricate aspects of it. The only thing I will say about this game is that it can be overly easy if you're not skipping battles, and you're doing any random battles that you encounter. You can become a bit OP, and you can absolutely obliterate a lot of the things in this game, including bosses. The other thing that I want to mention is some battles are optional. You don't have to do them, obviously, but, I'd recommend, if you're doing a playthrough, playing a lot of the random battles, because, you will be underpowered, and there are a few bosses that can kind of check you pretty hard. Also, on top of that, there are First Strike. So, First Strike is essentially, if you hit an enemy from behind, you get the first attack right off the bat like that, and the opposite way comes around for you, too. So you can get kind of a one-up advantage right from the beginning. When you hit enemies on the IP bar, it also sets the enemy's turn back slightly. So if you're on an IP bar right here and then the enemy's right here, and you hit him, it sets him back. So you could actually get another attack in depending on what you're doing. One part of the game, or one aspect that I want to emphasize, is that the bosses require probably the most strategy out of anything in the game. A lot of the battles can require strategy depending on what it is, but some of these bosses have different ways to beat them, or recommended ways to beat them, where you target specific limbs of a boss, or a head of a boss, or different locations, and use different types of magic that would be its weakness, your usual thing. But it does it to such a way in such a degree that it really feels intuitive, and when you actually get the boss's gimmick down, or you figure out what the deal is on how to beat this boss easily, you can just breeze through a lot of it. But it is pretty fun. It's very well integrated, and it's just great. It's great fun. It's really nice to strategize your attacks. This game has a lot of leveling of weapons and spells. You can unlock spells through mana eggs or different elements, kind of like fire, ice, wind, whatever. And depending on how you level those elements, you can learn new spells, and these new spells can be a combination of two of these elements sometimes. So learning a lot of them can really be beneficial to unlocking a lot of really great spells to use, especially later in the game. You're gonna need them for the most part. And the same thing with weapons. You can stick with the same weapon for a good majority of the game if you want to. I'm sure people do it. I haven't looked that up or watched it myself. You level your weapons as well, and your weapons get stronger as you level as well. So it's pretty cool. There's so much in-depth stuff into this, but it's not overly complicated. It's all very well displayed for you on screen whenever you open a menu. It's very intuitive, very easy to use when you get used to it. And it just adds more praise to the pile of praises I can give this game. There are several versions of this game. You can get it on Sega Saturn, which unfortunately has not been translated officially. You can get it on PlayStation 1, which has been translated and is a good game. I would recommend that version personally. You can also get the remasters that came out in, I think, 2019 on Switch and PC, and 2024 on PlayStation and Xbox. Don't quote me, but I think that's it. And the remasters are good of this game and the second game. I wouldn't highly recommend them. I did have a few issues when I was playing through it recently on stream, where we were having issues with certain save files, and different things in the game weren't working exactly correctly. But if you have access to those versions and you don't want to play on original PlayStation, you don't want to go out and buy all that stuff, then I would highly recommend that. So yeah, thanks for listening. I appreciate any views, and I appreciate the likes, and thanks for watching. I appreciate it very much. I'm glad you guys want to listen to this. I hope you like it. I didn't want to get too in-depth into the story because when I do reviews, I don't want to give any spoilers. I could do a spoiler section and go through it if I really wanted to, but I really do want people to experience these games. I think it's very important to experience a lot of these games yourself. Or if you do want to just watch a story, go watch. I have a full playthrough of what my playthrough I did on stream. But there's many other channels and many other people that have played through this game far better than I have. So I'd recommend either playing it or watching it somewhere. It's a really great game, and it really deserves more recognition than it gets. Please like and subscribe if you like the video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye! I'm trying to make a guest appearance in the video. You trying to make a guest appearance? You gotta be involved in everything I do, don't ya?